Tuesday, September 11th, 2012 was a sad day in American history. Not only was it the 11th anniversary of 9/11, but 4 more Americans lost their lives. Hello, my name is Stephanie Sublett, and I am a student at the University of Texas at San Antonio. My presentation is a content analysis of 11 news articles from the New York Times and the Libya Herald. These articles focus on the attack on the U.S. diplomatic office in Benghazi on September 11, 2012. The articles I analyzed range from September 2012 to October 2013. The Libya Herald is an independent English-speaking online newspaper run by a few journalists. The New York Times is a publicly owned newspaper run by 10 executives. While analyzing and comparing the 11 articles, I realized that the Libya Herald articles were generally half of a page or shorter in length. However, the New York Times articles were all over a page long, with some of them being more than 2 pages in length. When talking about media analysis and media framing, you must also talk about the freedom of press. There are many news and media sources in the United States, ranging from very liberal to very conservative and everything in between. Libya, on the other hand, is in a region of the world that is generally very religious, and it's present in the news and media sources of the region. Religious composition variables are possible measures of press freedom, according to Connolly Ahern. Althaus talked about officials, the media, the Libya crisis of 85-86, and how it relates to official debate in the media. Some of the questions that arose from these articles were: was the compound properly defended? Was the attack out of the blue? Could the ambassador have been saved? What about the 2 CIA contractors who were killed in the second ambush? After comparing these articles from the New York Times with those of the Libya Herald, I determined that there were issues of bias, media framing, and certain emphasis from both news sources that I will discuss shortly. My research questions are as follows. Question 1. How did the New York Times report the issue of the attack in Libya? Question 2. How did the Libya Herald report the issue of the attack in Libya? Question 3. What themes were present in the reporting of these events? And question 4. How was the media framing used in each news source? I'm going to give a brief background of both news sources. The New York Times started as the New York Daily Times on September 18, 1851, when it published its first paper. On September 14, 1857, its name was changed to the New York Times and launched its Sunday edition on April 21, 1861. The New York Times went public and sold its first stock on the New York Stock Exchange for $42 on January 14, 1969. It launched its internet edition on January 19, 1996, and launched its mobile website on September 7, 2006. Today, the New York Times has an average Sunday print circulation of 1,257,958, with 65 newsprint sites globally. NYTimes.com gets 9,893,611 homepage views and 1,615,934 site-wide views every hour. The Libya Herald is an online newspaper based in Tripoli, Libya. It was launched on February 17, 2012, and received over 7 million hits within its first year. Its aim is to cover every aspect of society in Libya: politics, business, sports, culture, education, construction and infrastructure, health issues, social stories, opinions, and jobs. The Libya Herald launched its business magazine, Libya Herald Business Eye, on its one-year anniversary. Today, it averages 1 million hits per day. My methodology consisted of selecting 11 articles from 2 news sources. One source was local to the region and one was an American-based source. I chose 5 articles from the New York Times and 6 articles from the Libya Herald. I contextually analyzed all 11 articles for bias, media framing, common themes, differences, and key terms. I also noted all these biases and comparisons so I could further analyze each one. Some of the common themes I found were different witness accounts, both good and bad, officials in both countries seeking justice. Was it possibly Al-Qaeda? Was it premeditated? And if so, how much time did they have to plan the attacks? There is still an ongoing investigation by both countries' officials, and could the attacks have been prevented? The Libya Herald seems to have a more general pattern of multiple witness accounts. Both Prime Minister-elect Mustafa Hagar and President Barack Obama were very adamant about seeking justice for these unnecessary acts of violence. However, President Obama went as far as calling them terrorist attacks. Both news sources say that there are links to Al-Qaeda being behind these attacks. Neither of the sources is sure if the attackers had time to plan or if they were just random acts of violence, but they continue to investigate. Media framing is sometimes led by regulations set in place. Buki discusses press freedom, advertising freedom, and the problematic issues between freedom and censorship. Pearson says, and I quote, "The free expression of certain facts and views has always been a dangerous practice in most societies. I feel this still holds true today, and I see it in the articles from the Libya Herald." In conclusion, the Libya Herald may have had shorter articles, but seemed to do more reporting of the facts pertaining specifically to the event. The New York Times reported on the event, but also made the articles about politics and changes that Barack Obama plans to implement.